Okay, so there is a clip going around that involves Lil Wayne, Rick Ross, Wiz Khalifa, and DJ Khaled sitting at a table, right? So this clip has been surfacing around, and it's made itself around where he talks about how a situation where DJ Khaled met Lil Wayne, and this sounds crazy to me, but I'm gonna say it the way I'm gonna say it now. I'm gonna explain it. I'm going to explain it what I mean, but there were two. There were two of the greatest art for all greatest artists of the greatest two great artists that were sitting at this table, which would be Rick Ross and Lil Wayne. This interview was like 51 minutes long. I'm gonna break it down in a little like point in sections of it, and just really anything hip hop I like to talk about, especially when Rick Ross and Lil Wayne sit down at the table, and Wiz Khalifa and DJ Khaled. So when they sit down, and they're great. They're great in the craft that they do. So if it's music, if they do producing or collaborations, it's always great. And Wiz Khalifa, for some weird reason, can make hits, but then he comes back and every once in a while and makes another hit. So I'm gonna dissect that whole situation with these four, which I think is a great way, um, is a great thing to talk about because of who these people are, and we don't really, we don't really get situations with these four artists in a room. Okay, so between these four, between these three artists and this producer, we have many back-to-back singles. We have Teflon Dom, Port of Miami 1, 2, and 3. We have the Carters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The Rick Ross's mixtapes. The Sorry for the Wait mixtapes. Black and Yellow, Green and Yellow. Between these three, we have so many. But with this producer, we have songs like I'm on One. And also, We're Forever. We have We're So Hood. Look, between these four, we have like an extremely long category of the 2000s. And I think that goes without a doubt, saying that these four artists being in, these three artists in a room, which I'm a huge fan of two of these. I'm a huge fan of Rick Ross and I'm a huge fan of Lil Wayne. So, the Carters, Teflon Doms, the Freemasons. Look, all of this all together. I think this is the best way for these four to sit down because I don't think they would have sat down any other way. Now, okay. So I want to explain why this is controversial to me. So DJ Khaled basically just tells a lot of stories about how him and Wayne met up in a club in I believe it's Miami or New Orleans. They met up in a club or I'm sorry, they met up at a vinyl record store that is in New Orleans. But J.D. Khaled used to always work there, so they go into detail and talking about how they met each other, which surprisingly I didn't know. Rick Ross knew Wiz Khalifa before he became famous, so that was kind of a new experience for me to find out in this interview that they go in depth about, right? So DJ Khaled talks about how he meets Wayne, and I think this it's a very different atmosphere because I don't think anybody there are very few people that know a lot about artists, and I think DJ Khaled is a producer or a beat maker that a lot of people don't know anything about, and I didn't know. I don't know his exact age, but there's rumored around that he got into music very early. But he goes around and talks about Rick Ross and Lil Wayne, and these three start this conversation where it seems like Rick Ross is throwing out questions and they're answering these questions while also having a good time. DJ Khaled also points out this, and I think it's always good to say. he said that it was very hard to get these four in a room because it's rare for this to happen. It's very rare for Lil Wayne to do interviews, Rick Ross to do interviews. Wiz Khalifa, you can catch him doing interviews, right? And DJ Khaled, you can always catch him doing interviews. But Lil Wayne and Rick Ross, they're very hard to get in interviews, right? Unless there's a lot of cash or something they're trying to promote or an album, right? It's very hard to pin these guys down for an interview. Okay, so I want to do this from a Wiz Khalifa point of view, right? So Wiz Khalifa says that he is the younger generation out of the four, and I think that is because I think I'm a couple years from Wiz Khalifa. I think that's what it is, right? And so Wiz Khalifa says that Rick Ross and Lil Wayne made Wiz Khalifa, and I do find that a tad bit funny, right? Because Rick Ross found Wiz Khalifa before he got popular, and they were all giving their props about Black and Yellow, but I think people forget about Wheaties Boys, Get on My Level, Young, Wild, and Free. Wiz Khalifa has done something that at the time no one was like, hey, we're gonna do Black and Yellow, make it a hit and go popular with it. And then it gets remixed by Lil Wayne, Green and Yellow, which Lil Wayne is a story within itself, which I think is very hard to understand. Okay. So as I said, two of these are my idols. Wiz Khalifa just says that he looks up to them and what they did for the culture of rap, and I think that that's a great way to look at it, because we're looking at a prodigy, right? Because Wayne was signed to Cash Money Records, right? But I think that's another reason why this stands out to me, because this is basically Maybach Music and YMCMB, right? This is basically what this is, right? Young Money, Cash Money Business. This is basically what this is, right? So, and I guess this is why I feel this way about this topic. And I'll get right into it, but they talk about it. And Wayne being signed at 12 years old to the Hot Boys, that they released a song in 1990, which didn't really get a lot of, which got a lot of music play, but it was more for like CDs, vinyls, and stuff like that, is where the Hot Boys made their money. 2000 comes, Lil Wayne, Cash Money pulls him, I believe, and he goes solo. But they set him on tours to open up for people, and then he goes into that same year, he goes and becomes the face and the head of YMCMB, right? The head and the face of one of the most popular minor labels coming from New Orleans to Florida, shaking the South. And that is so key to me, because Rick Ross also says in his interview that Lil Wayne had the 305, which is Miami-Dade County, but we're going to go Orlando, go Tallahassee, we're going to go Jacksonville, we're going to go the Florida as a whole, we're going to go Georgia, we're going to go Carolinas, and we're going to go up. We're going to go up state by state. We're going to go to New York. He had California rocking. He had, it's so weird that a kid from New Orleans was able to rock the nations with music, right? Now, this could be debatable, and this could be a seriously heavy debate. Like, who was the better artist of their time, and who did it better between Rick Ross and Lil Wayne? But this was all peace treaties, right? So they were talking, and it's just amazing to me that we were able to have this after years. But he says he was signed, and that he talks about the structure of YMCMB, or formerly known, or better known as Cash Money Records. he says, and I think this is important because no one understood what Cash Money was doing. So when Wayne won that settlement for $12 million, no one could never understand these two situations. And I think that's why them sitting down is amazing to me, right? Because not is it only, hey, we're great. They've always been great together. You get a Rose, you'll get a Lil Wayne on the track, and it'll be great. They'll rock the whole track. But he says that they put you in a position to do what you wanted to do and release the music the way you wanted to. They didn't want nobody to have the Baby, Birdman, Stunner, whatever you want to call them. They gave you what you want. They let you do it how you wanted to do it, which is weird, I think, a little bit. So, and I'm going to explain why I say this is weird and also good information that we didn't have before. Because if you don't know, Rick Ross, when he was signed to Maybach Music, when he was the boss and the head of Maybach Music, he made a song with Chris Rock called Idols Become Rivals. And this song wasn't necessarily to disrespect anybody in any manner. But Rick Ross says, release Khaled. He says, free Khaled. And pay Wayne, right? Because at this time, this is why I find it so interesting that these three head honchos, these bosses, could do what they did and come together at this table. Like, this table is crazy to me, right? Because we have idols become rivals. We have Wayne. We have two people of the mixtape era, two kings of the mixtape eras, talking at a table about this situation. And so this is the thing. So DJ Khaled talks about how he met everybody and him going to the first time he moved out to Florida or Miami, and then Wayne moved there after him. But he also talks about Rick Ross and Lil Wayne's ability to turn any feature, any song they wanted in 24 hours. Right? So this has also become a theory when we talk about Wayne. People say, well, we don't necessarily understand how Wayne and Rick Ross were able to turn features around. Because if you think about it, from the 2000 to 2010, Wayne was locked up in 2006 for charges. From 2000 to 2010, Lil Wayne was on the top of the world with features, with albums, with anything you could think of, he was on it. Mixtapes, Sorry for the Wait 2, just the Carters, right? the dedications. That's why, oh Lord, this is gonna turn into a Wayne rant. But this is why people say there's a difference between album Wayne and mixtape Wayne, right? And it's so crazy to say I experienced this. Like, experience Wayne in his prime. And I'm going to get to why I'm talking about Wayne in his prime, but I'm also going to talk about Rosette. Right? So, him saying that Wayne could turn anything over in 24 hours is great to me. But also for Lil Wayne to talk about how he doesn't see how he's not mad at Cash Money. He got his money and he's doing what he needs to do. And that's so amazing for Wayne, right? But then we have Rick Ross, right? Rick Ross has opened up many businesses while rapping, releasing his last album, Richer Than I Ever Been. And it seems that Rick Ross just is making moves behind the scenes with land, with property. He did Wingstop. Like, Rick Ross is doing Bel Air. I think he has a contract with Bel Air. But the way that Rick Ross has said, I become a boss and made himself a boss, it's phenomenal, right? Like, it's like It's like if you look at Rose, it's like the blueprint to it, right? But they're kings today, right? They will always be the goats. They will always be kings. But we have to look at this from the standpoint of they're icons. Not only I say they're icons. I promise you, you're like, yo, you're getting on a topic about Wayne, and you're getting on this massive topic about Wayne and Rick Ross. But we had YMCMB and Maybach Music at one time beefing. It was also good music, but we're not here to talk about good music. We're talking about Maybach Music and YMCMB. YMCMB roster was Juvenile, was Lil Wayne, was Drake, was Tyga. That roster is that roster. With Drake running the charts now, that is incredible. And then at Maybach Music Group, we got Amorion, we got out Wale. We just have we have too many people by these two artists and Wiz Khalifa to add it to another, right? It's extremely, and Cole and J. Cole for Lil Wayne. I think this, looking at these camps, looking at these two icons doing what they did, looking back at everything they have done and been able to do it, while some of them songs came from DJ Khaled, which props to him. He's the best collaborator, beat maker, producer, whatever you're considering DJ Khaled. If you hate him, if you love him and hate him, what he's done with music and been able to collab people like her, the Migos, Bryson Tiller, J. Cole. You know what I'm saying? Out of all, love it, hate him, he's put some of the best collaborations together, right, in history. And We Them Boys, where DJ Khaled reflects and he's like, hey, I remember when Rose was popping bottles with his shirt off, which was 100 bottles that Rick Ross was on, right? Or No Friends, where Lil Wayne is going crazy. Oh, I forgot, Lil Wayne had Nicki, right? Just these rosters alone, right? And then people that loved these artists and then just went crazy with it, right? And then we got Cash Out. We got Tap Out. These two, I think, this is my thing. These two have always been able to put stuff together. These two artists have been able to put stuff together. Now, Wiz Khalifa, now, this is the thing. So, Wiz Khalifa is probably known for Black and Yellow, Black and Yellow. Yeah, you know what it is. Look, that was the sound of the early 2000s, which I think is amazing that it's, happening. As you said, he was the younger out of the four. Now, as you said, he's trying to get there. He's trying to get to his peak of stuff that he can't explain of how he has done it. But his track history says it for himself. Like, he doesn't stop. He'll take a year off and then create something and then produce something, right? And then we get to how Wiz Khalifa was made and how he was rocking his styles in the early 2000s. Look at Wayne with his dreads. Look at Rick Ross with that kind of like fro kind of thing that he was rocking. And you just look, oh, they were seriously true icons of the generation. Now, they talk about multiple different studios that are named different things for protection and privacy. So this, Lord, this is gonna sound like a Wayne and Rick Ross interview, but so Rick Ross asks everybody, "Hey, what constantly gets you out of bed?" So DJ Khaled honestly said family. You know, honestly tell you he's a family man, but if you follow him on any social media or look at anything he puts out, it's truly about family. Any project, any album, it's about family. Now, this is the argument that a lot of people are gonna make. Wayne said he hasn't reached his music peak. And I think this is the thing. So people are like, lyrically, what else can he do? And I want to say he hasn't, right? Because there isn't a lot that Wayne... There's a lot Wayne could do because he's very versatile, right? So, Wayne being the rapper that he is, right? And I guess that's what I'm saying. So, Wayne had a chokehold on Florida, so you would always hear Wayne. So I don't think Wayne will ever be. Wayne will never stop being creative, right? Because we got No Ceiling Story. We've had, I think he had Ice Cream Paint Job. We had Money, Like a Bag of Money. We've had Dedications, which I hope we keep getting dedications. Like Dedication 7 gonna be crazy, right? Sorry for the Wait 2. Sorry for the Wait 3. Coco. God Bless America. Like, I think Wayne musically probably isn't there. Like Rebirth is what we'll talk about, and people say, well, his Rebirth album is a rock album, but that rock album sold. That rock album did numbers. Wayne could probably do country if he wanted to, but that's what I'm saying. Wayne, he could mess with autotune if he wanted to. Creatively, I don't think he'll ever be done. It's just not possible. Wayne has too many styles and things he could do. He could always adapt. He's done it before. I said the same thing with Rose. Rose is always able to adapt, to always be better. So I don't expect them to end anytime soon, right? But then with Khalifa, we could still develop. Like, he's great, but we could do more. We could put out a lot more songs on another album. I think, honestly, Wiz Khalifa is underrated, but he could make it. He can make it to where he's in that conversation in the top 10. I just think he needs to put more work into it, which is hard for me to say because I told you I'm a huge fan of all of these artists on this stage, right? At this table, but DJ Khaled is great with collabs, like Rick Ross and Wayne say. There's only so many people that could call Rick Ross and Lil Wayne and put them on a song together. DJ Khaled has done it 5 times. Done it 5 times. Done it 5 times. We're So Hood remix. Ooh, We Forever. No Friends, 100 Bottles. That's what I'm saying. Like, these two sitting in a room sounds phenomenal. Like, it's one of in a lifetime. But it also seems like it has its surprises because no one thought Lil Wayne, the head of Cash Money Records, YMCMB, carrying YMCMB on his back, Maybach Music, Rick Ross, right? No one thought these two could sit in a room because Meek Mill didn't like Drake, Nicki didn't like Rick Ross. Now, I don't know how they handled them or the situations, but I didn't think this was, I really did not think this was going to be possible because I thought they were going to pick sides, right? So I think that's a little bit why I'm confused. And DJ Khaled being the neutral guy, I think is great from him telling stories and being hyped about these 3 artists that he is talking about this entire time, which I think is really amazing to me because of this history that Rick Ross and Wayne have, and Wiz Khalifa getting this knowledge of these two rap purists that are great at what they do. I think this interview was great to watch, right? Because as I said, Wayne doesn't do interviews. Rick Ross rarely does them. DJ Khaled will do them. Wiz Khalifa will do them. They will do these interviews, but it's rare to hear Lil Wayne speak out on an interview and just talking. This is, look, if you haven't heard them talk for like an hour, I would recommend you go listen to it. I'll put the link in the description. But it's just that these artists are phenomenal to me, right? Like Rick Ross, Lil Wayne, Wiz Khalifa. Overall, these guys were great. They still are great to me. There's rarely enough people that will go above them, but it will be because of the material they produce, right? But that's what I'm saying. We can sit here and debate on who had the better albums a whole nother day, a whole nother discussion. That'd be a whole nother hour in itself, because we have the Carter series. We have Port of Miami, that series, right? We have Teflon Dom. We have Black Market. this goes on for a while between these two artists, which I think is amazing. But I think them being able to sit down is something that we should take as, okay, well, they're sitting down because they know they've been able to do the unthinkable. When Rick Ross put out Rather Than Me, and he had true discussions that he needed to have with people that he couldn't have on the phone with. Like, this is crazy to me that they're talking. Or Trilla. Between these two guys, it's like a 20-piece album. Right? Like, 20 pieces an album could really rock something, right? Like, you could be legendary with this because they rocked the 2010s. So, and then there's Mastermind by Rick Ross. That album. Then it's Florida Boy with T-Pain. Like, this becomes a whole nother topic when we talk about who is the more lyrical guy or who is the bigger GOAT. But right now in this conversation, with them being able to talk, they're clearly the two biggest people in rap right now to me. Right? Like, these are icons to me being able to talk in the same room. Like, this isn't something leaked during a song or anything. This isn't a slight diss towards anybody. This is them being genuine, with DJ Khaled being a very genuine person, and with Wiz Khalifa being there to really learn about these two head honchos at the time of the 2000s. Man, that was fun. That was fun to really look at. Like, I think looking at these two guys, I didn't really expect them to be in the same room. But who really could expect these two guys to be in the same room? With DJ Khaled, which I don't know DJ Khaled's situation, but with that situation being resolved, like that. Looking back at the 2010, no one thought that was going to be possible. Not a single soul thought that was going to be possible, right? But they've done it. Right? In 2022, we got a Rick Ross, Lil Wayne, DJ Khaled, and Wiz Khalifa interview, which just explains how YMCMB was, how NMG was. I think overall, this is something crazy. This is a crazy thing to talk about, especially in 2022. 2012, the albums that came. Yo, this is crazy to look back on. Oh, that is crazy to look back on. See that? Whew. We was in a ride for our lives in 2010. I think that's just. I love music, man, but that's history. That's just what happened in that interview. That interview was crazy. I'm gonna put a link in the description if you want to listen to the interview. That interview was great, man. That interview was really, really great.